Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. Here's that big picture looking at Tropical Storm Erin, still way out into the far eastern Atlantic. And at least at this point, it's still struggling. We've got a number of factors, some of the dry air, the cooler sea surface temperatures. So it's going to take some time, and that's no surprise. We were talking about this yesterday. It's going to take some time for this system to really organize itself and move into an area where conditions are really much more conducive to see further strengthening. It needs to move over some warm water, number one. It needs to move out of some of this drier air that it's been dealing with, and that will allow this system to really start to strengthen. And it does look like as we head through the next few days, that will start to happen. So you're looking closer with this and you can clearly see it has that circulation, but compared to yesterday, we did have some big clusters of convection with this. You're not seeing nearly as much of that convection today. So tells us this system is still struggling and it is going to take some time for this to develop a bit stronger. But currently winds are at 45 miles an hour. It's moving to the west at 23 miles an hour. So this is also a pretty quick moving storm right now. Really nothing out ahead of this. And so it's going to just continue to work its way on towards the west. And notice where it is right now. Those are the cooler sea surface temperatures, but notice as it moves onto the west, it's actually pushing a little bit further to the south, at least for a time, in response to this strong ridge. But it's also going to start to work itself into some of those much warmer waters. And then as it gets away from some of that Saharan dust, it finds itself in an environment where it can really flourish. And that's where you're seeing towards the end of this is very strong Category 2, Category 3, 115 mile an hour winds. And notice we also have some very warm waters that this will eventually find itself in. The big question will end up being, where does this go, and is this going to turn? Where is it going to turn? How quickly is it going to turn? Those are things that we're going to continue to fine tune as we go through the coming days, because what we're looking at is a big ridge which is sitting to the north of this system. And as we go through the next few days, it's going to find itself on that western side. We have a split in that ridge, which will create a little bit of a weakness, and that should allow this to turn more towards the north. Now, the further north that this already starts, it will allow it to turn maybe a little bit sooner, a little sign that maybe that ridge is a little bit weaker, but it's going to be a close call. It's going to be something that we're going to watch. But you do see, even though we have a spread in all the models are indicating that turn more towards that northerly direction. You look at the Fox model, there is that ridge sitting to the north. You see eventually Hurricane Erin continuing on that westerly track, and then we get this trough that pushes down, helps to weaken that ridge, give us a little bit of a weakness in there, which should be enough to allow this to go more of that poleward. It's what we refer to it as turning more towards the north. It wants to head towards the pole, either to the North Pole, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, systems want to head down towards the South Pole. So we're looking at the different models here. We're looking at the European and the GFS ensembles. Gives us that idea of the uncertainty among the models and what you are seeing. Of course, that spread, but you do see that cluster right through here. Here we have Bermuda over here, basically going between Bermuda and the U.S. Certainly some of these models, some of the outliers going a bit further towards the west, over towards the Bahamas, but really that cluster is right through here where you've seen the vast majority of these models. So it's gonna take time to really see and assess exactly how this ridge and this whole setup is going to play out over the next several days. We will continue to watch it very closely, and we will keep you updated right here on myfoxhurricane.com.